Every World War II tank ranked from steel coffins to battlefield kings. Some were so badly built that their own crews feared them more than the enemy. One was so feared that Allied soldiers reported seeing it in battles where it was not even present. And the tank at number 1 did not just win battles, it saved a nation and changed the course of the entire war. Fiat L335. The sardine tin. Italy called a tank. Italy, 1935. Mussolini wants an empire. His engineers hand him this. 3.2 tons, 13 millimeters of armor at its thickest point. To put that in perspective, a standard rifle bullet at close range could punch through it. Not a rocket, not a cannon, a rifle. Two men crammed into a hull with no turret and a pair of machine guns fixed to the front. If you wanted to shoot something on your left, you turned the entire tank. During a battle, under fire, British crews who faced them in North Africa did not even call them threats. They called them sardine tins. In France in 1940, some were destroyed by infantry carrying anti-tank rifles, weapons designed for far heavier targets. The Fiat L335 was not a tank. It was a liability with a flag painted on it. And somehow, it was not the most outclassed machine Japan sent its men into battle with. That story is next. Type 95. Hago, the tank Japan refused to replace. Here is what makes the Type 95 Hago genuinely tragic. In 1935, it was not terrible, fast for its era, a functional 37mm gun, reliable enough for the terrain it was designed for. Against Chinese forces in the late 1930s, it worked. Japan swept through Manchuria partly on the back of tanks like this. Then came 1941, the Pacific War, and a completely different enemy. American M4 Shermans, bazookas, artillery that could destroy the Hago before it got close enough to fire back. At Guadalcanal, at Tarawa, at Saipan, Hago tanks were destroyed so quickly that some crews never got a single shot off. The 37mm gun bounced off Sherman hulls. Japan's answer? Send more Hagos. They kept issuing 1935 technology into 1944 battles. Thousands of Japanese tankers died, not because their machines failed, but because their commanders refused to replace them. The next tank on this list failed for a different reason entirely, not because it was obsolete, because it was desperate. M3 Lee, the right answer, built the wrong way. By 1940, America desperately needed a medium tank. The Germans were tearing through Europe with panzers. America had nothing ready, so engineers made a decision that was equal parts brilliant and absurd. They took the 75mm gun they needed and bolted it to the side of the hull, not in a proper turret. They could not manufacture one fast enough. To the side of the hull, with a traverse of 15 degrees. To aim at anything more than 15 degrees away, you turn the entire tank. They then added a small 37mm turret on top, creating a machine that looked like a rolling apartment building. German anti-tank crews in North Africa gave it a nickname, the shop window. Because it was so tall and so visible, they could see it from a kilometer away. And yet, this matters. The M3 Lee was the only Allied tank that could threaten German armor at range in the early North African campaign. It bought time. Expensive, necessary time. Not a great tank. The right tank for a moment that had no better options. The next tank was never supposed to be Germany's backbone. It became one anyway, and then watched the world move past it in 2 years. Panzer III, the backbone that broke. If you want to understand Germany's rise and fall, watch the Panzer III in Poland, in France, in the early days of Operation Barbarossa. The Panzer III was terrifying. A three-man turret crew, commander, gunner, loader, each focused on a single job. Most tanks of the era forced the commander to also serve as gunner, meaning he was always distracted. The Panzer III separated those roles. German crews communicated by radio in coordinated formations, years ahead of anyone else. Then, June 1941, Germany crosses into the Soviet Union and meets the T-34. German tankers watch their shells hit the T-34 and fall away. Some crews stopped firing entirely. They simply could not believe what they were seeing. The Panzer III's 50mm gun could barely scratch it. Engineers tried to upgrade the hull, adding a longer gun and more armor, but the frame could not carry the weight. By 1943, it was pulled from frontline combat and sent to training roles. A tank that had helped conquer a continent, rendered obsolete in 2 years. That is the brutality of technological war. The next tank on this list was ugly, slow, and almost impossible to destroy. And the men who fought alongside it came to love it for exactly those reasons. Churchill tank, the ugly machine that would not die. Nobody who saw a Churchill tank for the first time was impressed. Wide, slow, top speed of 25 kilometers per hour on a good day. It looked like something left behind from the First World War. Early crews told dark jokes about the reliability. And then something happened in Tunisia in 1943. At Long Stop Hill, British commanders needed to take a ridge that German defenders had left almost unguarded, because they were certain no tank could climb it. The Churchills climbed it. The Mk7 variant carried up to 152 millimeters of frontal armor, thicker than the Tiger I at its heaviest points. German anti-tank guns that shredded Shermans and Cromwells frequently ricocheted off Churchill hulls. In Italy, in Normandy, in the Reichswald, Churchills absorbed punishment that would have destroyed anything else on the field and kept moving. It was never a weapon of speed or shock. It was a machine for grinding through the hardest fighting of the war. Quietly, magnificent. The next tank was the exact opposite. It was a machine Germany kept alive through sheer stubbornness and continuous reinvention. Panzer IV, the tank that refused to stop fighting. The Panzer IV was never supposed to be Germany's main battle tank. It was designed as a support vehicle, a short-barreled howitzer to blast infantry, while the Panzer III handled enemy armor. Then the Panzer III met the T-34, and everything changed. Engineers looked at the Panzer IV and noticed one thing: its hull was slightly larger and could be upgraded. They fitted a long, high-velocity 75mm gun. Suddenly, Germany had something that could fight the T-34 on equal terms, and then they kept upgrading it. F variant, then G, then H, then J. By the final versions, it weighed nearly twice what it did originally. Extra armor bolted to the sides to protect against Soviet anti-tank rifles. It fought in Poland, France, North Africa, the Eastern Front, Normandy, the Ardennes, Berlin. No other tank served in every major German theater of the entire war. Over 8,500 were built. Never the best tank Germany had, possibly the most important. Now, we enter the top 3. And here is where the arguments start. Because the next tank was the most feared vehicle on the Western Front. It had one flaw, and that flaw cost Germany the war. M4 Sherman, the most controversial tank of the war. No tank in World War II generates more argument than the Sherman. And that argument is, at its core, a moral one. Over 49,000 Shermans were built between 1942 and 1945. Reliable and easy to maintain, it could be loaded onto a ship, crossed an ocean, unloaded, fueled, and driven into battle within hours. For a global war fought across 3 continents, that was not just a feature, it was a strategic weapon. But here is what every Sherman crew member knew going into battle. In a straight fight with a Tiger I, the Sherman lost. The standard 75mm gun could not reliably penetrate Tiger frontal armor at combat range, and the Tiger I's 88mm gun could destroy a Sherman from over a kilometer away. Early Shermans caught fire so readily from penetrating hits that German crews called them Tommy Cookers. Allied soldiers called them Ronsons, after the lighter, because they lit first time, every time. Men burned inside them. But late war Shermans, with the high-velocity 76mm gun and redesigned ammunition storage, were genuinely competitive machines. And in the hands of experienced crews with artillery and air support, Sherman battalions ground the Wehrmacht into dust. Not the best tank, the right system for the kind of war America was fighting. Now, 2 tanks remain. One was the most feared machine on any battlefield it appeared on. The other saved an entire nation. We start with the one that haunted a generation. Tiger I, the monster that dominated minds. The Tiger. I did not just dominate battlefields, it dominated minds. By 1943, Allied tank crews were reporting Tigers in engagements where none were present. Military psychologists documented the phenomenon. Tiger phobia. The tank had become a myth before most men had ever seen one. It earned that fear. The 88mm KWK-36 gun could destroy any Allied or Soviet tank at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters. Its frontal armor was 100mm of hardened steel, and it required specific approaches, specific angles, specific ammunition to defeat. At Villers-Bocage, in June 1944, SS Commander Michael Whitman in a single Tiger destroyed approximately 14 tanks, 15 personnel carriers, and 2 anti-tank guns in one engagement, before withdrawing safely. But the Tiger carried a flaw built into its very bones. 57 tons. It broke bridges. It could not fit on standard rail transport without removing its outer wheels. Its overlapping road wheel system, innovative in theory, packed with mud in Russian winters and froze solid overnight. Crews sometimes woke to find their tank immobile, the wheels locked together in ice. A single Tiger cost the same resources as 4 Panzer IV tanks. Germany built 1,347 of them, total, ferocious, legendary, and ultimately self-defeating. One tank remains, the machine that shocked German engineers when they first encountered it, the machine that Soviet factories produced faster than Germany could destroy it, the machine that saved the world. T-34, the tank that saved the world. July 1941. 3 weeks into Operation Barbarossa, German tank crews encounter something they have never seen. Their shells are bouncing off, not ricocheting, bouncing, off a Soviet tank that should not exist yet. German General Erich von Kleist, a man who had led armored columns through France, called it the finest tank in the world. General von Rundstedt reported it as a complete surprise. What made it so dangerous came down to 3 things: slope, gun, simplicity. The T-34's hull armor was 45mm, modest on paper, but angled at 60 degrees. The physics of armor penetration transformed it into the equivalent of nearly 90mm of vertical plate. German shells hit the angled surface and deflected away. The 76mm gun could handle any German tank of the period, and the construction, welded not bolted, designed from the beginning for rapid mass production, meant Soviet factories could build them faster than Germany could destroy them. Early T-34s had real weaknesses: poor visibility, a two-man turret that forced the commander to also serve as gunner, radios that were rare in the first years. Soviet crews died in catastrophic numbers in 1941 and 1942. The tank kept improving anyway. The T-34-85, introduced in 1944, brought a larger turret, an 85mm gun, a dedicated commander, and radios in every vehicle. By 1944, the Red Army was fielding them in formations of hundreds at a time. Germany had no answer. Over 84,000 T-34s were built in total. No other tank in history was produced in greater numbers. On the Eastern Front, the largest land war in human history, numbers were everything, and the T-34 gave the Soviet Union numbers that Germany could never match, never stop, and never survive. 10 tanks, 10 completely different stories. Factories moved beyond the Ural Mountains. Entire cities dismantled and rebuilt just to keep producing them. Germany could destroy thousands. The Soviet Union simply built thousands more. And eventually, Germany ran out of everything first.